Please welcome our next panel on untapped talent, expanding workforce opportunities.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you all so much for joining us to talk about this very important topic about tapping into new pools of workers and giving them the opportunities to thrive in the workplace. I'm joined here today by 3 CEOs from around the country. Andrew McMahon, President and CEO of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America. Tamara Lundgren, Chairman and CEO of Radius Recycling. And Lawton, President and CEO of Tractor Supply Company. I'll direct these questions to one person, but if there's something you'd like to add or share, please jump in. I want this to feel like a casual conversation, and I know everybody has a lot of interesting insights to offer here. So with that, we'll get started. Tamara, I'll start with you. We've heard a lot recently about the skills-first approach. This idea that you value someone based on the skills they bring and not just, whether or not they have a college degree or what their resume maybe already looks like. What does skills first mean to you as a CEO, and how does that fit into hiring at Radius Recycling?
Great. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you to Business Roundtable for organizing this. So skills first. What that means to me and to our company is that there are many different pathways to success. And for that to actually get translated into a reality, it means, and how we've deployed it, it means creating a framework where you can analytically assess the skills needed for a particular job, and you can agnostically assess the characteristics, the attributes, the qualifications of an individual who is applying for that position and assess their potential to perform successfully. So that's the framework that we've created, and that's the interpretation that we've deployed throughout our organization. But as a CEO, there are 2 things that I've taken on as leadership initiatives to, again, make that a reality, turn that theory into actuality, and that is training. Providing training to our employees and additional learning. So a couple of years ago, we launched what we call Building a Better Future, which is an online learning curriculum that anyone in the company can access. And in just 24 months, we've had over 2,800 courses taken. And this can be within your job area. It can be something that you're interested in. It doesn't have to lead to anything, but we do believe that learning and continual learning is so core to success. And about more than 10% of the people who've completed courses have actually been able to advance their careers. So that's one investment in training that's been very critical to us, that again goes to its skills that you need to advance your career. The second is a partnership that we call Radius Academy. And there we partner with high schools and vocational schools where we invest in a curriculum that provides hands-on training to equip students with the skills they need to enter our industry. If they complete that course of study successfully, they're guaranteed a job interview at any of our facilities around the country. And if they are hired and have the requisite success in terms of staying at the company and being successful, we then reimburse their full student loans. Wow. So that investment and that training is really critical to proving that there are multiple pathways to success.
Perfect. Andrew, as an insurer, Guardian manages a great deal of data, and of course that comes with a number of cybersecurity challenges. I'm curious what you've done to ensure that you have the right staff in place with the right skills to manage and protect all of that data. Tell us a bit about how you've built up that cybersecurity workforce.
Yeah, so thank you for the question, and thank you for having us here. I think a few items to consider here. we see jobs changing quite dramatically as technology changes and different opportunities and/or threats, as we talk about cybersecurity, come along here. And I think we will continue to see jobs change. And for many of us, for instance, a year ago, I'm not sure I knew what a prompt engineer was, but now we have lots of conversations of how many prompt engineers will we need in the future. As it comes to cybersecurity, and particularly defenses, cybersecurity defense, this is currently today, this is a big passion of mine, it's a passion of BRT's with the initiative that I'm leading with them. There are 750,000 open cybersecurity jobs today in the United States. And the question for me is, going back to some of Tamara's comments, is how do we fill those jobs? How do we create a pipeline of skills and talent to fill those jobs, which is of national security interest and of competitive interest for companies? And frankly, as we see some of these attacks on our companies and infrastructure and so forth, it is really, really a national security interest. And it's each of our companies' duty and obligation to fill that pipeline. So how are we doing that? One, similar to some of the things that Tamara just spoke about, one, bring the barriers down for entry. And those barriers being education, degrees, or this and that. Do you need a degree in certain technology? Experience set, do you need experience set, or is it skills first? And so looking at it skills first. Secondly, tapping into pools and sources of talent that we may not have tapped into in the past. And that's everywhere from, rather than just looking at college degrees coming out and entry level, but looking at nonprofit firms that are helping skills and create skill bases to bring those people in. Third is development, and Tamara also touched on that, but how are we internally both developing people for these skill sets and their marketability and capabilities in and outside the company, but then how are we working with educational partners and institutions and nonprofits to help create a curriculum and a certification program and so forth to bring some of those skills, be it cybersecurity and/or any other function.
Fabulous. Hal, Tractor Supply has a lot of frontline workers. How do you think about career paths for those employees, and is it different from your general approach to career development at the company?
Yeah, thank you. And good morning, everyone. And thanks for attending today, and thanks to Business Roundtable for hosting this. Tractor Supply, for those not familiar with our business, we have 2,200 stores across the country in all states but Alaska. Have over 50,000 team members. And to your point, very focused. For many of our team members, Tractor Supply might be their first job right out of high school. And so we're really much on that frontline workforce, and it is all about retention and development of our workforce. I'm pleased to say that 70% of all the promotions we have inside the company are internal promotions, and I think that's indicative of our commitment to career pathing and development. On our frontline workforce, we spend a lot of time early on onboarding our team members, making them successful in the culture and in the business, working on knowledge, working on selling skills. And then once they've spent 6 months or a year inside the company, we start spending a lot of time on what the various career path options for them are. We have a variety of different roles in our field that they can navigate into, all with the path towards a store manager role. Once a team member makes it to the store manager role, not only do they have an excellent cash-based compensation and bonus, but also receives restricted stock. And we really drive kind of that empowerment and ownership mentality. And I'm pleased to say at the store manager level, we have one of the best retention rates in all of retail. We have about a 12% turnover annually of our store managers, so a very low attrition rate. And some of the things that we do, in addition to just the training and development and some of the knowledge tools we also have a variety of benefits programs that drive development as well. For instance, we have tuition reimbursement program for all of our frontline workforce, up to $7,500 a year. Another program that we do on education and development is we partner with FFA, Future Farmers of America. All of Tractor Supply stores are outside of cities. In fact, the vast majority are in rural and ex-urban markets. And FFA is a great feeder program for the development of the next generation of workforce. So 2 years ago, we launched the largest rural scholarship program in the country, 150 scholarships a year. 50 $10,000 scholarships for 4-year institutions, 100 $5,000 scholarships for 2-year and community colleges. Again, all around driving the next generation of our workforce, reinvesting back in our communities, knowing that many of those will end up coming to work at Tractor Supply, because part of the scholarship also involves internships and employment, if you'd like. So for us, we're really focused on that frontline first job team member, making them successful, giving them their education and knowledge skills, and then promoting them up through the organization, driving an ownership mentality, and eventually creating real wealth for their family.
Right. Tamara, about 3 years ago, Radius Recycling started a second chance program to offer opportunities to workers with criminal records. Tell us about that. What drove your decision, and what results have you seen since then?
Sure. So let me give it some context. Low carbon technologies are driving increased demand for our products. Mm-hmm. And that's because what we primarily do is recycle metals. And there are more metal is required in low carbon technologies like electric vehicles and wind and solar than in the technologies that they're replacing. There's more metal, copper and aluminum, for example, in an electric vehicle than in a gas-powered vehicle. So we were looking for ways to increase the pool of potential employees. And what we learned is that there is an untapped large pool of potential employees that are second chance candidates. And these are individuals who have criminal records. And what we learned was that if you have a criminal record, it is there's a 50% likelihood that you will not get a second interview.
Wow.
27%, there's a 27% unemployment rate among people with criminal records. So we are a 118-year-old company whose core business is based on seeing potential, finding value where other people don't see it, because we recycle metals and we find value where other people don't attribute value. So we thought we'd give this initiative a try, and it's been very successful. We started in 2020, and about on average, 8% of our new hires are second chance candidates. We've placed them in 81 different facilities. They represent 58 different types of jobs.
Wow.
And so it is something that we want to continue to accelerate. We also see it as a great way of building stronger bonds within the communities that we operate in. And so it has been a successful program, and Business Roundtable has helped us quite a bit with the Second Chance Business Coalition in terms of providing resources, connecting us with networks around the country that find these candidates and help them transition to take on a full-time, full-wage and benefit job.
Andrew, at Guardian, you're focused on well-being in a number of different ways. What does that mean in terms of your workforce, and how do you think about work-life balance? And tell us a bit if that's changed in the last few years after the pandemic.
Sure. So Guardian is a big life insurance company, 163 years old. It's maybe not a industry that everybody comes out of school thinking like, hey, I want to work in the life insurance industry. But it's a complicated business with lots of different moving parts. And if you think about the customer base, the policyholders that we serve, their well-being, they're buying our products in order to act as a safety net for something unexpected to happen. And that can be on life insurance, on annuities. It could be on other voluntary benefit programs and so forth. Their interest isn't that they have to claim all these things. Their interest is really they want to be well, and well-being is important to them. So we've created a purpose around the company, re-articulated a few years ago, around inspiring well-being and broadening our view of how do we serve policyholders differently than just a contract. That, in order to do that well, we're big believers in that we need to do that with our own workforce. And so with our workforce, we started with the basics and going back down to, and frankly, COVID probably accelerated some of this over the last couple of years, about mental health. And we think about mind, body, and wallet of well-beings. And so mental health well-being, physical health well-being, and then financial health well-being. And how can we help people on all those dimensions? We were really good on the financial health well-being part of it, but probably not as much so aligned against the mental and body piece of this. And so we've incorporated in our total rewards that we call our in full compensation package a mental health partnership with Spring Health for employees to use. We also use that as a service now with many of our clients. And other things like empathy, which as you have a loss in your family, it's a service to help you through the grieving process as well as through the planning process of a loss. And it's been an exceptional thing for employees. As CEOs, I'm sure it's the same here. We get lots of letters from people. A lot of those letters can be negative. But all the positive letters I got, both from policyholders and from employees, have been all around some of these added things around well-being. Yeah. And I think that well-being thing, I think we've gone with COVID lockdown has caused lots of different angst and family challenges, including, staying at home so long and so forth, that this has been I think a welcomed thing for us. So thank you.
Hal, you have been thinking beyond just Tractor Supply and have been involved in helping build a skilled workforce across the entire Nashville region. Tell us about that. Why is that important to you? And what are some of the things that you've learned in reaching out sort of beyond the company into the community?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Abha. Before I jump into that, I was going to just build off of the comment on well-being and health. I absolutely think that due to the pandemic, there's a lot more value placed on health and well-being by employees, and I think also businesses are embracing that and as a total reward for their team members differently than they did pre-COVID. I think medical had been just thought a bit more transactional, I think kind of in the 2010 to 2020 timeframe with increasing cost and Obamacare and things like that. And post-COVID, I think there's been a lot more of a mutual respect and understanding and felt need for health. And like as an example, in June of 2020, we enabled our benefits packages to be purchased and by our part-time team members, 15-hour minimum. So I think very much best in class in retail. They have access to the same benefits programs that I do. We've had significant take-up on that with our part-time team members, but I think that's led to better retention of our team members, better well-being, better overall customer service, and just them feeling better about their lives and another way to give back to your community. So I just wanted to reinforce that. In Nashville, I'm on the Nashville Chamber of Commerce. I think almost all, whether it's at a national level, state level, local level, business level, we're all looking for how do we, expand our workforce potential and opportunity. At BRT, we've been very active on this front for several years now. And we're taking a lot of those learnings and translating those into the city of Nashville. And so many of the things we talked about today, whether it's second chance, whether it's degree requirements. Additionally, we have Fort Campbell up the road from Nashville, so a lot of outreach and activity with those that are leaving the military or military spouses, and providing a work opportunity for them while their wives or husbands are deployed or at least certainly on active duty. But translating all those sorts of initiatives that we talked about at a national level and kind of best practices around those. Kind of leading from the front, if you will, in Nashville on those, and then bringing a lot of the other Nashville companies along. And in the spirit of expanding the workforce, Nashville has an unemployment rate that's below the national average. And so, looking to make sure we're taking advantage of all those opportunities to create a high-quality workforce.
How have you dealt with challenges like housing and childcare that come up a lot when you're talking about building up a workforce?
I think both of those are very challenging. We spent a lot of time in the the kind of greater Nashville area, talking to the various communities about things like permitting and zoning requirements. We talk a lot in this country about affordable housing, but I think that the word affordable really is a generic term for, really across all variety of homes and values. There's just not enough homes out there. People are having difficulty, finding places to live. And then on sorry, the second part of your question besides housing was?
Childcare.
Oh, yeah, childcare. On that one, I think you've got to be a lot more flexible with your workforce and finding ways to work from them. So hybrid work, I think, has been a big boon to families, particularly working moms, but giving flexibility for school drop-offs, school pickups, sick children, that sort of thing. But also in our frontline workforce, we're committed to 3 weeks schedules in advance. Wow. So that gives people plenty of time to arrange, whatever needs they might have. And we also are committed to not changing that unless it's requested by the team member, obviously.
Fantastic. Now I'll open up the conversation to all of you, so feel free to jump in wherever you'd like. But we've talked a bit about the pandemic, and there's no question that it's shaken up the workforce. We've had the Great Resignation, with people quitting jobs, starting new careers, sort of switching all over the place. And I'm curious what that looked like in each of your industries for your companies and how you approached it, either as a challenge or an opportunity, and just kind of talk about what things have been like since then.
Okay, I'll start. So the first thing that I will say is that we were considered an essential industry. So we worked throughout the whole pandemic, and about 97% of our employees are on the site in operations or operations-related roles. So there was only a very small part of our workforce who actually were working from home, who are really office-based workers. But there have been some significant changes that we've seen, and probably the most important one from our perspective is the change in communication. Mm-hmm. Pre-pandemic, I would do a quarterly town hall, and most of them would be physical, and they'd be webcast and the like. Beginning on March 13th, 2020, I started sending a weekly message. And at the beginning, it was really about facts about the pandemic and health and vaccines and how to stay safe and like. But then it started morphing, and within the organization, it's called a Sunday sermon. So I talk about different topics. When the pandemic was over, I thought I would stop it, and I was asked not to. So every Sunday, I send a weekly message that never existed pre that. Once a month, I do virtual office hours so that people can call in. I mean, it's a number we post. People call in. It is really like walking into my office. And that's where we learn a lot about benefits, what people really value. And that has come to the fore, and there really hasn't been a forum for people to discuss that in a way where they feel they're being listened to. And then we obviously do the virtual town halls. But what I've done with those virtual town halls, and this gets, Hal, to something that you were saying, is I've been making sure that I interview leaders with different backgrounds. So some may have college and graduate degrees, and some may have come straight from high school, gone into the business, and are leadership positions. And I think it's that storytelling and that connecting is something that has really come out of the pandemic that people want to hear about and see and almost touch and feel and say, can I do this? So for us, given that the day-to-day life didn't change for 90 plus % of our employees, the communication changed dramatically.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, for Guardian, the extreme opposite, really. 98% of our employees, we went remote on March 14th or something like that. We were impacted back in 2011 by Hurricane Sandy in New York, where our headquarters was. The building was basically rendered useless for 9 months. So we actually had this happen to us once before. We did test it one day just to say, hey, will the VPN work for everybody working remote? The difficult part is that having an entire company go remote, we've had 3 excellent years in a row. Everything's worked really well. during it that lots of people scratch their head and say, well, why do I need to come to the office? And my biggest worry, and I think it's a worry of our entire economy, is around apprenticeship models, mentorship, that personal connection and human connection that we all have, that even this dialogue would be different if you weren't in this room and just watching this on a screen. And I think that for me is the biggest thing, that we've been doing lots of education and communication to say, and then purposefully bringing people together, even those that work remote, to say what times a year do we bring them together, what do we do with them when they're in the room, so that we can build some of that personal connection, that apprenticeship, and the mentorships that sometimes just evolve naturally and not prescribed.
Yeah, I think people, now it's back to kind of what it was in 2018 and 2019. I mean, the world, has had a big cycle over the last 4 or 5 years, and we're back where people want to work for great companies. They want to work for companies that have great cultures. They want to work for companies that communicate well. They want to work for companies where they feel they're fairly compensated, that they have career paths, that they're being mentored and developed. And interestingly, we never threw a stake in the ground on coming back into the office. It was always a hybrid and reasonably loose on that, with each individual manager dictating it at their team level, the team collectively dictating it. And now we're seeing teams just come back in droves, because they want to be a part of the culture. They want that mentorship. They want that development. Particularly the millennial generation, seeing that significantly from that generation. And I think that just puts it back on the company. You've got to create, what's the purpose of your company, and do people feel aligned with that purpose, and that it's a real purpose? Is there a set of mission and values that underpin that? And then do you stand for those and represent those on a day-to-day basis, individually and collectively as a company? I know at Tractor Supply, I'll take things like AI as an example, where certainly there's a huge opportunity on AI to make the business more efficient, to take cost out, et cetera. But where we've spent equally as much of our resources on AI is on driving better customer service, and making that team member more successful. And if we do that, it'll make them want to stay at our company, kind of particularly when it's a coin toss on compensation elsewhere. And, we've done things like all of our team members wear an audio headset that allows for point-to-point communication, tasking in the stores, and those sorts of things, gets rid of the annoying overhead. But now we're running AI through that, where you have a knowledge tool, much like you might like Siri or ChatGPT, and you can just ask it a question that's specific to our business, and it will come back with an answer, whether it's, when do I switch my chickens from crumble feed to pellet feed? Or it could be, where's the screw bit? And what aisle are they on? Also, our team members can ask, where can I get my pay stub? And it'll say, you can get it here on the website, and it'll say, would you like me to send you a link to our app that we have for our team members? Another thing that we do is we have cameras on the front of our stores and throughout our stores that were typically kind of dumb cameras just for security purposes. Half of our stores this year, nearly half, 40%, will upgrade to smart cameras that allow our team members to know when customers are dwelling outside looking at a riding lawnmower, or perhaps in the garden center wanting to shop flowers, and it's early in the morning, maybe we don't have staffing out there yet. And then it alerts our team members to go out there and help our customers, and makes them successful, drives improved knowledge and development. And again, it's I think all ladders up to our culture of customer service.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, all three of you. I think we are just about out of time, and thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, Abha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.